You happily finished setting the table whilst humming to yourself. With the food now cooked and ready, all that was left to do was wait for Sanemi and Genya to finish their bath. After placing the large bowl of steaming, I'm going to butcher this name, hanakijukin, on the table, you followed up with 3 bowls of hibachi rice, hibachi, and lastly, the last plate was with origiri. Tonight, the 2 Shinagawa brothers were going to feast like kings that you couldn't help but give yourself a high five for your hard work. I wonder if Nami and Gen prefer juice or tea. You pondered to yourself, but eventually decided to go for the latter. As you walked back towards the kitchen, you spotted something outside the window as it circled across the yard. Curious. You went towards the door and slid it open, only to glance at a cute little dog. It was a Shiba Inu, with a red, brownish, and white coat. Aw, hey there. Where'd you come from, little guy? You asked as you walked up to it happily. Upon closer inspection, you noticed it was a female, and she appeared to be pregnant with pups. Yay! She also had a red collar with an oval-shaped tag around her neck, meaning she was owned. Reading the name tag, you saw kanji for Karumi, along with the serial number and street address. Karumi, such a pretty name for a pretty dog. You smiled as Karumi happily wagged her tail, curling brushy tail. Are you hungry, girl? You asked. Karumi barked as you walked back inside, grabbing a pair of chopsticks and taking 1 slab of meat before returning. Here you go, you say, tossing it as she accepted it, taking it in her mouth before leaving. You watched her disappear behind the fence, probably heading back home and to her owner enjoying her new free meal. You're welcome, you say, waving goodbye. Sanemi sat in the tub, an arm resting on the brim and a knee up. After such a long day, he needed a quick soak to sort out the mess in his head. He sank further into the warm water, relishing in the warmth of the water to his body, taking a deep breath and exhaling softly. Sanemi slowly rotated his neck, a pop releasing from the much tension. He massaged over the spot, feeling all the troublesome melt away before letting his thoughts adrift and play out. Oni-chan? Came Genya's voice. Well, there went his quiet and peace. The wind pillar nearly forgot the younger Shinagawa was with him as he glanced towards his younger brother. What? Sanemi noticed Genya's timid posture as his eyes wandered over his skin, examining the various scars that resembled his own, except Genya didn't have as many as he did. Genya's voice trailed off, as if wondering how to handle the situation. What's he so shy about? Sanemi wondered. It was just a bath, no big deal. Maybe slightly aware because of their nudity, but nothing to be precious about. They've bathed together before. What'd you say? Don't say anything to me if you aren't gonna say anything, he scolded. Sorry. Stop fucking apologizing. You're starting to sound like that brat Kamado. I do not, Genya pointed out with a glare. Well, there is a reaction that Sanemi suddenly found amusing, as the older Shinagawa chuckled lightly at his little brother's antics. Well, what the fuck do you want? He asked again. Clearly something was on the younger Shinagawa's mind. It's about Yun-chan, Genya asks. What about her? How exactly did you meet her, and how come you never told me about her? Genya asked. Sanemi sighed. Of course, he knew that Genya was going to find out eventually. Yet, he was still a bit annoyed that it just had to be this way. To answer your second question, I didn't want you or anyone to know my business, he says. But since you know the truth now, I guess I can tell you. The Wind Hashira added, It all happened about a year ago, when I sent on a mission to slay a demon. I tried asking around for information from the townspeople, but only got shunned. It was when I met Yin, and she offered to help me locate the demon. She also mended my wounds after that. We'd started seeing each other more and more, and eventually got together. I wanted to keep up our affair secret because I already had enough of everyone prying their noses in my business 24/7. Sanemi exclaims. Oh, so then why did she leave you? Genya asks. That drew Sanemi's attention, and for a few seconds they were locked in perplexed staring match. I don't fucking know. I just remembered being assigned on a mission, and when I got back, she left me with a fucking note saying goodbye. Sanemi answered. Genya pondered at this since he'd recalled that day as well. You remember coming home to await for Sanemi's return, but for the rest of this sort of a blur? After that, you'd come into my room screaming, saying that you saw a monster or whatever, Sanemi added. Genya's eyes widened. A monster? The younger Shinazugawa was confused, for he never recalled that happening. Yeah, you don't remember. I hadn't realized you were home, and you came barging in, yelling that you saw an attack, a strange creature, and it jumped the window, Sanemi exclaims, glaring at his younger brother. I did? Genya tilted his head in confusion. I went into the room to check. I saw nothing. Only the room was a total mess. I assumed you just woken up from a nightmare and was overreacting like an idiot, Sanemi says, looking at him. Genya cocks his head, even more confused. Was Sanemi saying really true? Although the young Shinazugawa did somewhat remember stepping into the room, but didn't ever recall seeing a monster. Well, he did somewhat vaguely remember seeing something. It was wearing something favorite colored and silky, followed by the smell of favorite scent. So what, or whom exactly it was did he see that day? Could it be a demon? He wondered. I hear talking, are you two getting cleaned? Suddenly came your voice. Through the door, both Shinazugawa brothers quickly covered their chest and their, from embarrassment, as you suddenly poked your head through the door. What the fucking? Sanemi hissed, blushing profusely. Ever heard of eavesdropping? He adds. Time to get out, you two. Dinner's getting cold, you say with a feminine smile, before closing the door, leaving both Sanemi and Genya a blushing mess of themselves.